Hey VC, it's Jonathan, your cheap and cheerful record collector. Hope everybody's doing well today. This is going to be an entry for Chris the Blues Vinyl Guy contest. The last day, so I'm just getting it in under the gun. I'm a fairly new subscriber to Chris. Obviously a big fan because I'm a big blues guy. And I love his channel. I love the blues. So this seems to be a match made in heaven. So his contest was to show 3 blues albums and talk a little bit about the records you're showing and why you're showing them. So, the first one I got is John Hammond, So Many Roads, from 1965. And I remember getting this when this was a new album. I was 16 years old, and this was so great for me. And what got me excited, besides it being a great album, accompanying himself on guitar, along with Charlie Musselwhite on harmonica, Robbie Robertson on guitar, Levon Helm on drums, Mike Bloomfield on piano, Jimmy Lewis on bass, and Garth Hudson on organ. So basically it's components of the band with Charlie Musselwhite and Mike Bloomfield. So how bad can that be? And the great thing about it is that, I don't know if you can see it, but on all the cuts of all the songs, he says who the writer was. So when I looked at it, I saw down at the bottom, I saw Willie Dixon. I didn't know Willie Dixon from anything, but I said, I got to check out who Willie Dixon is. A Long Distance Call, Muddy Waters. Who Do You Love? E. McDaniels. Who the hell is E. McDaniels? Of course, it's Bo Diddley. At that time, I didn't know they were the same person. Robert Johnson on a couple of them. I'd heard the name Robert Johnson, but I hadn't really heard his music yet. Willie Dixon again on You Can't Judge a Book by Its Cover, etc. So this album really meant a lot to me when I was a kid. I took it and listened to it all the time, and then from that, I then went and found the originals of all the songs that he recorded on here. Great album. This is a really nice mono copy on Vanguard, original Vanguard label. So if you're not a big John Hammond fan, definitely check his early stuff out. And his stuff today is still great. I saw him about 2-3 years ago up here in Maine at the North Atlantic Blues Festival, and he signed the album for me. We got to talk for a while, so it was pretty cool. It was really great. So Many Roads, John Hammond. Next one up is another great blues man. This is Luther Allison, and this is on Delmark Records. I should have looked up the year, but I don't have the year on it. With Jimmy Fastfinger Dawkins on guitar, as well as Luther Allison. I'm going to say this is early 70s. There's a really nice Delmark label. This means a lot to me basically because I got to see Luther Allison, 1970 Ann Arbor Blues Festival. He tore the place up and was a great, great guitar player. Left the United States for a number of years, lived in Europe for a while, and then came back. But if you don't know Luther Allison, definitely a great, great guitar player. Very down home. Love that stuff. And then the third one is sort of a not well-known harmonica player. This album I picked up, I happened to be at a friend's house. Actually, a couple of years ago, we were watching the football, and I went to the basement to use the men's room, and there was a bunch of records there. So I was going through his records, and I said, do you listen to these? He goes, no, they're just sitting there for a couple of years now. I said, you want to get rid of them? So we made a deal, and part of the deal was the deep blues harmonica of Walter Horton. This is the UK pressing. Really rare record. Fantastic. I mean, really fantastic blues. Very country blues. Not Chicago electric blues at all, but very country. And even though this particular record was made in Chicago in the late 60s and had never been released until this, it's just amazing record. Very hard to come by. And that's the deep blues harmonica of Walter Horton. That's my third record. I could go on and on. I have probably close to 150 blues albums, but we'll just start with that. Blues, I got interested in the blues in the early 60s, was the beginning of the folk revival. I lived right outside New York City, so I used to go into Manhattan a lot, take the bus in and go down to Greenwich Village and go to all the folk clubs there, because back then the folk clubs didn't serve alcohol, so anybody could go in. So we'd go in and we'd hear all the folk music, all the Pete Seeger, Tom Paxton, Dave Van Ronk, Phil Oakes, Eric Anderson, Pat Sky, etc., etc. And now and then they'd have a bluesman come in and play because it was still part of that whole scene. So one of the guys I saw very early on, probably 1964 or so, was John Lee Hooker. Came into the Gaslight Cafe and saw him by himself, no band, just him playing guitar. And that really got me hooked on the blues. I'd sort of been hooked on the blues a little bit earlier because I'd always listened to Woody Guthrie albums, and he played with Leadbelly and Sonny Terry and Brandon McGee as well. So that sort of got me sort of into the blues. But seeing John Lee Hooker in the early 60s was really the impetus to get me really involved in the blues. And I've been a blues hound ever since. That's really my contest entry. Really enjoy Chris's channel. Oh, I gotta have a name. So my blues name, I thought a lot about this. I couldn't come up with anything great, but basically my blues name would be John couldn't carry a tune if he had a bucket, Gilbert. So that's basically what my blues name would be. Johnny couldn't carry a tune if he had a bucket. Okay, Chris, congratulations on your channel. Really enjoy it. Always looking forward to hearing more. And as I always say, until next time, peace.